what was the one thing that that was hardest to unlearn? And that could be like just the way that you see the world, and you had to overcome that in order to get shit done. You know? What was the hardest thing to unlearn?
Feeling like something had to be exactly a perfect or certain way to get shipped out, or like to get done, like literally to put out into the world, whether it's like, could be something as simple as like something internally, like an email, like an important email that I have to send to an important person, all the way to, you know, I mean, I hate to say it, even like a product. Excuse me. When I launched our Kickstarter, the glove was in a good state, but it was not 100% perfect yet. And in hindsight, I would have done more to make sure that the product was 100%. Before I put it on Kickstarter.
But isn't the standard of what is 100%?
Excuse me.
Okay. Isn't the standard of what is 100%? Doesn't that change? And so now you're saying that with hindsight.
No, I think it's just how you look at it. Like, think about all the times that you feel like, oh, this has to be perfect. Or like, I don't know if this is good enough. The truth is you're always going to feel that way. So I look at I call it the just ship it, quote unquote, mentality, which is finding a place which is not measurable. Straight up, it's not measurable. It's a muscle that you have to basically massage and build on your own, and you know what that threshold is. But like, you got to develop a just ship it mentality. And some people who might be listening to this who work in the tech field might roll their eyes and be like, this bitch, really? She gonna be like everyone else? Because it is very Silicon Valley language, like just ship it. But it actually is a really beautiful thing that can apply to life. It applies to me still to this day sometimes when I overthink something. Because the truth is that like no product will ever be perfect. Like our product right now, the Buy a Boxing Glove, it's our main product. It's the product that we're known for. There's still things I'm fixing to it, or are making changes to this day, because as your customer pool continues to grow, there's still great ideas that are getting sent in, some of which like we didn't think about, initially, or like it's completely new that a handful of customers are sharing the same feedback. I'm like, I guess we didn't think of that. Let's try to incorporate it this time. And like, instead of looking at that as like, oh my God, we screwed up, it's more of like, wow, okay, we're giving them an opportunity to actually be a part of the journey too, like to be a part of the process. And like, believe it or not, they appreciate it. They appreciate the fact that they're getting like a very small but like a critical part of our story, of our whole creation. So, that's one small anecdote, but it applies so much in my life too, even with like cooking or like new projects I'm taking on. It's just like, just freaking try it. Like get over everything that you're inhibiting about what you think could or couldn't be. And then the other important thing is like asking for help. People think that like being confident means that you have like a majority of the answers to things. But the truth is like, that's actually not the case. And I can attest that, because all people always say to me, man, how did you make that connection? Or how is so-and-so your mentor? I'm like, straight up, it's because I literally went into that first meeting being like, I don't know jack shit. In that exact language, I don't know jack shit. This is about how much I know, but like, could you help me on this? Because I have no freaking clue. And they appreciate the fact that like I've just shared that vulnerability of like, all right, she's not coming in here like chomping around like she's hot shit. She's like, all right, she was just like me when I, was in her place and whatever. It creates this whole lane of like availability and connectability. And so, yeah, just ship it.
It stems from insecurity.
Big time. So get over that shit, y'all.
It's like
get over it.
It's like you want, it's you trying to prove to yourself that you are, able to do whatever it is, and that you are worthy of, that kind of mind state is what then creates like defensiveness, not wanting to ask for help, stubbornness, and all that. So it's like a self-awareness needs to happen first in order to achieve.
Absolutely, but that's what I'm trying to encourage y'all. Yeah. Is like, break that shit, because honestly, that will inhibit any of you from doing anything. And I'm not perfect either. I have my days. But when people
she has her days.
But when people come to me and they're like, how did you do this all, you know, like, yes, I'm a solo founder, so like, how did you do this all by yourself? I'm like, listen, real talk, absolutely not by myself. I could list easily at least 30 people in general who like fluctuate around my periphery, whether it's a literal employee or a contractor, mentor, whoever, but just I could easily name at least 30 people. And that's not even including straight up Kickstarter backers who don't know who the fuck I am. And somehow, whatever it was that I poured my soul out there, they believed in taking a risk on me. Like, you know, it's just you've got to go out there being willing to say, I don't know what I'm doing, but this is what I think so far, and let people in. And then after that, it's really just a matter of understanding how to balance the amount of help you're gonna get too, because everyone's got a great idea, but you got to pick a lane. So then understanding how to gracefully accept the idea and say, okay, I'll think about it, and then parsing out what makes sense for you, and still making other people who like legitimately want to help like feel good and a part of the circle, but also like managing your own confidence and vulnerability around all of that. I mean,
it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, but
yeah.
the number one thing is like starts with you. Straight up. You can't control everyone else.
Just ship it. Take a chance on yourself. Try it, whatever that is.
And ask for help.
Ask for help if you need it.
I also find the just ship it can also teeter into really intense, like, I can do it all by myself. Lies.
What was the hardest lesson you had to learn? I mean, obviously you didn't start out knowing this, right? You had to...
The hardest lesson I had to learn, what do you mean? Like,
just in general. I'm asking just generally.
Okay,
I don't know
I guess
what
I could probably name like 20. But I mean...
well, ones that you would feel comfortable talking about. Because I would imagine, like, obviously you embark on this journey, you don't really know you don't have all the answers. You just had something that was driving you towards the need to create a better glove, a better boxing glove, better MMA glove for women. But you didn't know that you definitely had to ask for help. I'm sure you had some preconceived notions about what an entrepreneur is and, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, like, what was it that was the hardest lesson to learn so that you could speak from a place of wisdom now?
To trust your gut more. I know that's not helpful to most people, but like, I think for me, it's been a lot more helpful when it comes to hiring decisions, when it comes to relationships, so even on a personal life standpoint, like the whole theme of trusting your gut has been a thing for the last 3 or 4 years, for sure. Like, I didn't believe it enough until a few bad things happened to me, and then I realized, like, damn it, like, I should have known. Like, all those times I had freaking, like, literal stomach aches, you know, like when you wake up in the morning, you're just, like, hugging the toilet
sometimes you need confirmation. So you have to let it go too far.
Yeah, but not to your but that's the thing, like, not to your detriment, and it was to my detriment. So that's why, like, I'm just learning to trust my gut more. And, like, and I find that, like, the more that I'm doing that, whether, like, something bad could have happened or not, you know, I don't know at this point, but if I don't feel right, I either end something, stop something, you know, I just don't go through with it. And I sleep better at night. To be totally honest, at least on that front, like, I sleep better at night. So, yeah, so I'm trusting your gut. I think the third one would probably be that, this one, it sounds so cliche, but it's like, we talked about, like, social media and all that stuff before. I just think I'm terrible at it. I still have to do it every hour, every freaking 5 minutes, but, like, you gotta be kinder to yourself. Like, I share that advice now because I have, like, fellow startup founder friends who, believe it or not, are meaner to themselves than even I am to myself. So, like, you know, giving them this advice helps me to remind myself too, but it's like, we are too hard on ourselves, like, straight up. I mean, like, last week was a perfect example. Something really difficult happened to me work-wise on Friday before my mom showed up. And, like, the only way I was able to crawl away from, like, the thing that happened was talking myself out of what it was that I was, like, blaming myself for. And I had to talk through it with someone. I talked through it with my colleague, Shannon, and I was like, okay, so this happened, but that doesn't mean that everything has completely gone to shit. Like, the business isn't completely down the toilet. It's just a thing. Like, and what is actually happening? And, like, talking through all that. And then realizing, too, that my family's in town. Like
what's important to you?
What's important to me. And also, like, the whole being kind to myself. Well, I'm going to be kind to myself this weekend by fucking enjoying my family. So, like, you know, so even when you're mired in something really, really terrible, what you feel is terrible in that moment, like, take a step back and just be like, what is actually happening right now? And if people could hear the dialogue that happens to me 24/7.
It happens to all of us, you know?
My sister got to witness a little bit of it today with Take Your Sister to Work Day. Like, she probably saw me, like, switch gears, like, 50 million different times. And in between all those switching of gears, it's like, you have no clue, like, what dialogue is going in my head. And I can tell you, it's just, like, all over the goddamn place.
Well, you have a lot on your plate all the time, which is why, actually, that's another question I have for you. How do you set, like, your work day to be, I mean, granted, you worked, like, after you got home, but just, like, that you're going to be at the office from this time to this time, and that you're going to go to bed at this hour, and, you know?
So how do I set boundaries?
How do you set boundaries for yourself? How do you make the decisions where you can, like, keep your mental health in mind?
Sleep is the biggest one. Like, no matter good day, bad day, I physically get myself into bed if I can. Obviously, if I'm traveling, that makes it a little bit difficult, but, like, I try my best to be physically in bed by, like, 9-ish, 9:30. And
that's impressive.
But I don't sleep. Like, I'll read, not on my phone. Usually I try not to, but if I feel like reading the news, I'll allow myself that, obviously. But I'm in bed then, so that I'm falling asleep basically by, like, 10 or 10:30. I think that's probably been, like, one of the most important and simple things. I mean, diet is another one, and I don't mean diet by, like, restricting food, but diet and just, like,
your nutrition is
making deliberate choices. So, like, I'm not eating meat nearly as much, and that's just as simple as I realize I don't digest meat very well anymore, or it takes longer for me to digest meat, so I allow it for indulgences, like, and I say, I shouldn't even use that language, it's terrible.
You're forgiven.
I enjoy it on the weekends, because, like, at the end of the day, like, there's plenty of things culturally, Vietnamese food, can't give up, but, like,
yeah,
you know, but I, generally speaking, like, during the week, I mostly eat only, like plant-based, quote-unquote, like, I just don't really touch meat that much. So those are the simple things. The harder things that you can't quantify, though, are the things like I was mentioning before we had technical difficulties that, like, you lose friends along the way. You just straight up do. And it's not even for malicious reasons. It's just, like, people, myself included, but, you know, you just realize that there are certain relationships, that there's expectations that you have to maintain a certain, whether it's how often do you go out with them, you know, happy hours every week or bar crawling on the weekend, where, you know, there's these expectations of you that if you can't meet by choice, first of all, like I personally I'm not like that socially, but also, like, yeah, I don't really drink anymore, for instance, and I do prioritize sleep. So those simple lifestyle choices end up meaning that your certain relationships kind of die out, which sucks. And at first that was really hard. At first it became a very isolating experience, and it still can be a super isolating experience, but, like, the more that I have been able to find my own community around things that I'm passionate about, whether it's been Krav Maga, for instance. I mean, now it's more like my boxing community, because I've been boxing more than I do Krav Maga. But even so, other startup founders that I'm around who are literally going through the exact same thing, the same kind of isolation, the same kind of, like, people just don't understand the level of risk you're willing to undergo to, like, to create something that you legitimately, like, love and, like, really care about, even with the hard days and all that stuff. It's a very unique and, like, special bond that I do have with those particular people. So you just end up, like, you just shift communities, and it's not bad, but that was hard, though. In the initial stages, like, it was very isolating. So the balancing is still super hard, but I think, you know, one of the things, I'm an introvert, I'm an INFJ, for anyone who cares about Myers-Briggs.
I always forget which one I am.
Yeah, I'm an INFJ. I've learned to wear that loud and proud, because it's a very small part of the population who qualify as an INFJ. And one of the characteristics of INFJs is that extrovert, introvert. So, like, my business persona, I don't even like calling it persona, but like what I put out there, it's very extroverted and it's authentic. It doesn't
You have to be. You have to put your message out there, so.
But it doesn't, that aspect of me doesn't take work in the sense that it is authentic. Like, I don't feel like I have to sell myself in any sort of way. It is legitimate. But like, as soon as I'm done, like, doing what I need to do, whether it's in a meeting or like being in that being on that side of me, I shut down immediately. I'm like, okay, going home, not talking to anyone. The last thing I certainly want to do is be dicking around on my social media, because then I have to talk to more people. I like go into my personal stage and I'm cooking, I'm cleaning, I'm being present in my own space. Like, I am definitely in that spot. And so that's how I create those distinctions and boundaries, you know, and being more forgiving to myself with things like the gym. I used to be a 6-time-a-week gym rat, straight up, proudly, happily, etc. When that wasn't a part of my identity anymore, because literally my energy level could not allow it. Like, there are plenty of days where straight up I am just so exhausted that I'm like, give me a couch. It's not even about the TV. It's just like, I can't even process a workout. The idea of you giving me a 6-punch combo is not, it's not doable for me.
It's not healthy too. You only have so much to give.
I actually just want to shove my face in the couch and just shut my eyes for like 15 minutes. Like, that's what being allowed, the balance part, quote unquote, people say work-life balance, how do you get working out and stuff? Actually, the reason why my workouts are even remotely fruitful are because I actually allow myself a lot of vegging days. And vegging days doesn't mean like eating the crap out of
It's also called recovery, if you want to frame it differently.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's actually a much better way to put it. It's recovery. So like, recovery means, yes, allowing myself to shove my face into the sofa couch cushion and just literally be. No music, no nothing, just
no stimuli.
No stimuli. Oh my God.
Because
like,
you have enough stimulation in your brain, I'm sure, with thoughts
and
swirling.
People are like, well, why don't you go do yoga? And I'm like, nope. Because that's still someone telling me to do something, and I actually just want to be still.
Well, different strokes for different folks.
Yes, but I'm just explaining why, like, you know, I don't go to do yoga, because that's also social simulation. You're around a teacher, you're around your classmates or whatever, you know, you're not actually being still mindfully. And so, you know, in a weird way, that's my meditation. That sounds weird, but like...
No, I mean, people think meditation, it has to be this particular thing. It's just about being able to quiet your mind and focus on whatever is happening in that present moment without, you know, thinking in the past or the future or somewhere else.
Right.